Hey there, everybody. Happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh my God, I can't believe it's Thursday. Um, this week has gone by very quickly, which I guess is kind of a good thing. Um, I just find that it's like when you're busy, then time flies. And so prior to school, it's like the days would take forever to pass. And now it's like, holy shit, we're already almost a week into school for this semester. So that's terrifying. Um, but also kind of exciting. Okay, so I decided that today I wanted to talk about self care. Uh, or maybe I guess the way I should phrase it is listening to your body. Maybe I would say is probably the better way to frame it. The reason I say this is because I've been up since 2:30 this morning. It is now 4:30 p.m. It's 4:34 p.m. and um, I'm still awake because of my ADHD meds. It's a stimulant, right? So I mean, it's similar to amphetamines and whatnot. So even though I want to sleep, I can't. And part of me wonders if maybe I should have skipped my meds this morning so that I could have slept for part of the day, but I don't like to mess with that sort of thing, so I figured I'd just tough it out. And I'm finally done class for the day, so I'm hoping that maybe as the night wears on, I might be able to kind of just like, you know, become chill enough that I can drift off, but I'm not gonna cross my fingers or hold my breath. But the reason I have been up is because of the fact that um, I so to give a little bit of context, I have been struggling with my routine for self-care and things like sleep hygiene or my diet or any of those types of things. I found that when COVID hit, it was kind of a perfect opportunity for me to start taking better care of myself. It's not like it was because of COVID, it's just that whatever was going on with me personally and my decision to start taking better care of myself and kind of being in a place where I had the capacity to do that, it just so happened to sort of overlap with when COVID hit. And so I ended up losing almost 50 pounds. I think it was just under 50 pounds. And I was doing really well with like food and how much I was exercising. I was like doing weights and stuff, I'd say probably 4 times a week at least. And then, of course, my dog, I'd be walking him multiple times a day because I live in a condo. And so I don't have a backyard I can just let him out in. So I was having to walk him regularly. And so that was really beneficial for my mental health. And I found that, like, the more I was engaging in these healthier habits, the more noticeable it was when I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna like continue taking my vitamins religiously. And like I was deliberately avoiding things like sweets. And like, I would fast for the first number of hours in the morning just because that was how I managed to get my day started better. And um, that was all great. And then my dog died in September, just after, like 2 days after classes started. So I had just started university in person, and then I had to euthanize my dog really unexpectedly. And that really threw me. And I was like, okay, I I don't know how to cope with this. Like it was just a lot because I was going to school. Not It wasn't my first university course because I did end up taking one online for the spring semester just to sort of dip my feet in because I wanted to make sure that I could cut it. Like I wanted to make sure that I was going to be capable. And so anyways, this was like the first on campus in person type experience. And of course this is with COVID, so there was anxiety around that as well. And like I have PTSD from when I was in school, so this is, it was kind of triggering in some respects. And so there was just a lot going on. And Anyway, so with everything that happened with Maverick dying, I just was like, hey, I'm just gonna eat a bunch of ice cream. And so I have this thing where it's like I'll go through periods of time where there's like a specific sweet or something like that that is just like, I don't know, like that's all I'll crave. Like if I could have, like a variety of different things, chances are I'd be like, no, I just want the same thing. And so for the last couple of years, it's been the cappuccino score blizzard from Dairy Queen. That's like my vice. Like, and I know it's horrible in terms of like the number of grams of sugar and all that kind of stuff, let alone the calories, but just in terms of like what it does to your body when you eat that, not so great. But basically, I was like, hey, I don't even care anymore. Like, I'm stressed. I have to push through this to deal with school. And so I kind of just, I don't know, I just kind of stopped caring. And I wasn't working out just because with, taking classes and stuff. Plus I was still doing trauma therapy at the time as well. So that, adds on extra time and effort because you have to do daily homework and all that sort of stuff. Plus, 2 hours of actual sit and have talk therapy. And so I was just feeling overwhelmed, and at that point it was like I just have to kind of do whatever I have to do to be able to get through it. And that worked fine until midterms came around, and then I basically had like a mental breakdown. And I was house sitting actually for a former neighbor of ours. She has two dogs that are like ancient. I think they're like 16 and 17. And I was a dog groomer for a number of years, and so I have some experience with dogs. And so she had asked me to stay, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And so that was kind of like almost like a reset for me, because it wasn't like I wasn't going to be getting up in the middle of the night and going and like snacking in her fridge and stuff like that while I was staying there. Like I smoke weed for sleeping, and I wasn't going to be getting up in the middle of the night to go put my jacket on and go outside. And because this was, my midterms were in like end of October, I guess, or something like that. Yeah, I would say so, somewhere around there. So it wasn't exactly nice out. So it sort of forced me to really get back into the routine for sleep hygiene, in terms of like going to bed at a decent hour and sleeping through the night. Or, if you wake up in the night, then you go to the bathroom or do what you got to do, and then you just go back to sleep. And so anyways, it really helped in that respect. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna just do a bunch of food prep, and so that way I just had Tupperwares in the fridge that I could like take out and heat up. And so I had roasted vegetables and protein and Greek yogurts and stuff like that I could just pull out of the fridge and reheat and whatever. And so that was really beneficial. And anyways, I have found that since I have stopped my therapy, it's not like I've stopped practicing stuff, but I'm not in therapy actively in the treatment program that I was in. And so all of this expectation of tracking all my habits and behaviors and having to practice mindfulness activities and stuff like that, all of that went out the window. And I've just been so hyper focused on trying to achieve, school related stuff and being busy and productive and whatnot, that sort of foundation and that base of what was really important for my emotional resiliency, that was sort of crumbling from underneath me. Meanwhile, I'm like on a ladder, like trying to do this really, not complex or whatever, but like for me, it was a lot of effort that I was having to put in. And meanwhile, the ladder and like the actual, deck that I'm on is like falling apart underneath me. And so it's taken a lot of time for me to kind of stop and be like, okay, like I have to go back to square one, and I have to really focus on the basics. Because what happens with BPD is when you have such emotional intensity, you end up avoiding your emotions as much as you can. And so when you're kind of going through the day, stuff will come up and you just react to it. Like, it's not like you stop and tend to think about it and reflect on it and decide, okay, how do I want to proceed with this? Typically, it's like, okay, I have to do this because I need to make that emotion go away. And so I've just been reacting, like, not necessarily in terms of having these overt reactions to different things because I'm dysregulated. Like, my thinking patterns have actually changed significantly, where that isn't really too much of an issue now. I don't have the same kinds of reactions to things as I once did. But in terms of like my self-care and my impulsivity when it comes to my eating and stuff, like, all of that just went to shit. And so I've noticed that, like, my emotional tenacity and the resiliency that I have has just really waned. So with mindfulness, it allows you to sort of take a step back from the situation and just sort of recognize, like, okay, what am I feeling right now? How do I want to approach this? Is this a smart thing for me to do right now? And as opposed to just immediately reacting to something. And so last night I was up. I had some leftover cappuccino Score Blizzard in the freezer, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna eat this at, like, 3 a.m. because I couldn't sleep." And of course, stupid me, I ended up eating this, and of course there's caffeine in it, right? And so anyways, that in combination with the fact that I just couldn't shut my brain off, I just couldn't get back to sleep. And so then of course 5 a.m. rolls around, I take my meds, try to go back to sleep, that didn't work. And so it's been a really brutal day because this overwhelming sense of anxiety was just crippling me this morning. And because of the fact that I had eaten the sugar and I had been smoking pot, like, my heart was starting to experience these arrhythmias. And that's something that I've been concerned about for a couple of months now. Because, I mean, obviously it takes a toll on your body when you're abusing things like sugar or, cannabis or anything. And so anyways, last night, or I guess this morning, was kind of a breaking point for me. And I realized, like, I have to stop and I need to listen to my body. And ultimately, that is one of the hardest lessons that I have had to learn through my recovery, is the fact that, if I'm so focused on something and I invalidate myself for the type of distress that I'm experiencing, especially if you've been chronically invalidated when you're growing up, which often is the case for people with BPD, it can be very easy to sort of just ignore the fact that your body's trying to tell you something. And so I guess with all that being said, it's super crucial for people to be able to take a step back and stop and think about the fact that what is it that my body's trying to tell me right now? Am I tired? Do I need to lay down? Is this going to be helpful for me if I go lay down now? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So am I going to feel better if I have a short snooze right now? Or, if I'm feeling very overwhelmed, or I've got a lot of muscle soreness or something, like, could this potentially be related to my emotional well-being as opposed to the physical? Everything is connected. And so there's something called a body scan exercise that you can try, and it's essentially, like, you can Google it and look at what a body scan is in terms of like a guided meditation. Those are really great. You can listen to that just helps you sort of be able to be more in tune with your body and recognize, like, oh, I'm holding a lot of tension here. It's a really good activity to be able to sort of take a step back from the present moment of everything else going on and just focus in on what your body is trying to tell you. And I think that's super, super crucial. And I hope that you guys give it a try. And I'll end up elaborating on this in future, I'm sure. But I'm going to try and keep this really quick and concise. So I think that's it for today. I just wanted to talk about, listening to your body and how important that is, because it really does impact your emotional tenacity, which I'll probably talk about in another video as well. So Okay, well, good luck, everybody, and give it a try.